The British Prime Minister has described the deadly bombing in Manchester claimed by Daesh terrorist groups as one of the worst terror attacks that the UK has ever experienced.
It is now beyond doubt that the people of Manchester and of this country have fallen victim to a callous terrorist attack, an attack that targeted some of the youngest people in our society with cold calculation. This was among the worst terrorist incidents we have ever experienced in the United Kingdom.
May went on to say that security services know the identity of the assailant but will not disclose it for now. She added that the bomber acted alone, but it is still unclear if anyone else was involved in plotting the terrorist attack. She made the comments after chairing a meeting of the government's emergency committee. The British Queen has also condemned the bomb blast in Manchester as an act of barbarity. Meanwhile, the British police have evacuated a shopping mall in the city and arrested a 23-year-old man in connection with the attack that took place at a concert. 22 people were killed and nearly 60 others injured when a bomber detonated his explosives as people were leaving the concert hall on Monday night. Following the deadly blast in the British city of Manchester, many nations have slammed the terrorist incidents and offered help to the British government. Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesman Bahram Ghasemi has condemned the incident, saying the root and ideology of every terrorist act committed from Iran's Mir Javeh to England's Manchester is similar. The French President Emmanuel Macron has also offered sympathy and solidarity, saying that France would continue to work with Britain to fight terrorism. The German government has also expressed condolences to London. The European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said that Europe is mourning with Britain and will continue helping UK in its battle against terrorism. The Russian President Vladimir Putin also condemned the attack and said that Moscow is ready to boost anti-terror cooperation with Britain. The U.S. President Donald Trump and his Palestinian counterpart Mahmoud Abbas denounced the attack as well. Let's talk about this a little bit more with Marcus Papadopoulos, publisher and editor at Politics First. If we want to take a look at what has happened in the UK, this is not that far apart from what happened in Westminster. Are we looking at an increase, and why do you think the increase is happening at this time?
Well, first of all, I would like to express my condolences to the victims' families and express my profound sympathies to the victims of this heinous, despicable Wahhabist terrorist attack. Now, it is very clear that Britain and the world in general has a cancer, and that cancer is Wahhabism, the official ideology of Saudi Arabia, a perverse, depraved interpretation of the religion of Islam. And it is no surprise that these terrorist attacks are occurring in Britain. Indeed, there was a dreadful major terrorist attack in London in 2005. But unfortunately, these attacks will remain a part of everyday life in Britain unless the British government reassesses its relationship with Saudi Arabia, because sadly the British government, along with the American government, is feeding Saudi Arabia through its business dealings, through its arms deals, and through feeding Saudi Arabia, you are making the threat of Wahhabism all the more potent. And people in Britain watching this interview have to understand that the terrorist threat posed to Britain has been brought on to the British people, has been brought to the streets and of towns and cities in Britain by the reckless foreign policy of the British government in regard to Saudi Arabia. The work of MI5 and of the British police in trying to keep British civilians safe 24/7 is being undermined by their own government, the British government.
You talk about how this relationship needs to be reassessed, but how do you do that when the UK Prime Minister Theresa May just, I think it's about a month now ago, was over in the Persian Gulf making a tour and signing all types of deals? Of course, many deducting that's because of the Brexit. I mean, hasn't she binded herself in a sense and locked herself in those types of business deals?
Regrettably, there is not going to be a change in British foreign policy towards Saudi Arabia, unless, of course, Jeremy Corbyn becomes Prime Minister on June the 9th, the day after the British general election, because Jeremy Corbyn has made it very clear that he wants to see Britain's relationship with Saudi Arabia reassessed, significantly reassessed. But if Theresa May and the Conservative government remain in power, then Britain's relationship with Saudi Arabia will continue. BAE Systems will continue selling vast amounts of British arms to Saudi Arabia every year. British companies will keep on conducting massive business dealings with Saudi Arabia, and of course Britain will keep on supporting Wahhabist terrorist groups fighting against the Syrian government. So it's a very, very depressing situation, and it's all the more depressing because the threat to British people when they go to work, when they go to concerts, when they go to their supermarkets, the threat posed to them by Wahhabism has been brought to them by their own government, and that is an absolute travesty.
Thank you. Marcus Papadopoulos there talking to us from London.